I sat next to him, and it wouldn't matter what was on the screen. I was sitting next to a successful man. No anger, no manipulation, just, nevertheless, this is what we're going to see. I mean, it was so unbelievable. I will remember it at my deathbed.
You don't even remember the movie, probably.
And it turned out the movie was excellent, so I had two rewards. But this is what a woman is looking for. She's looking for that kind of leadership.
Yeah.
So if you were going to use that as a kind of parable, then it's okay, but you choose what you want to use. And it needs to be a training, not just a blah, 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 blah. It needs to have some kind of a point to training. And you probably do that. Now, you can set up a parable that's not personal. You could say, I did this with a client. He happened to be a pastor, and I said, I can't remember. I said, you know, you went out into your forest, and you cut down the best tree. Is that what you want to do? He was thinking of divorcing his wife. And he said, no, that's a foolish thing to do. So you can create a parable, you can create some kind of a bridge, but you're helping them, you're continually helping them reconcile to change the things you can change, be reconciled to the things you can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yeah. Let's go back to big God, because that's a very, very big issue. If you ask people big God questions, and if you went to the Christian and said, tell me something big about your God, you know, you'd have maybe a dozen different answers or 100 different answers, because it's individual. This big God is really important, because that's what Jesus asked for. He did not say, make me big. He said, make God big. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. Do this, and life is yours. Do this, and life is yours. Teaching people how to say they're wrong. Teaching them not to worry if their neighbor doesn't say it first. Teaching them how to take responsibility that they say that they are wrong. Does that make sense? Yeah. Are you willing to say you're wrong, even if your husband never says it, as long as he lives? Yeah. Right. You could say, I handled this in the wrong way. I'm learning to improve. An example would be, my husband's an older driver, and I get freaked out. And I mean, I do quite a bit. For example, for 10 years he was driving with one hand. He's in his late 70s, almost 80, and he's using his left hand to drive everywhere, including turning. So I'm just freaking out. I mean, this is no permanent forgiveness deal. This is a course that's leading to my death. So anyway, but I don't want to say you can't drive anymore, because that's really not where I should be coming from, unless the doctor says you can't drive anymore, or there's, you know, if he's blind, if there's more issues than that. But I just learning to, this is what I learned to do. It was successful. I said, you are a good driver. I'm scared to death. It is my problem. I am afraid. So I didn't make it his problem. I said, it's my problem because I'm afraid.
Well, it is, isn't it?
Yes. And it goes back to an accident I had when I was going around a curve when Michelle was a baby, and she was less than a year old. And I'm going around a curve, going up to Klatskanai, and a car came in the other lane and sideswiped me. and threw the baby on the floor. Well, you know, sometimes I'm just always afraid that sideswiping, it's like PTSD. Yes.
No, here's the mic.
I came yesterday, last night group lesson, and you keep saying that the people say, I'm sorry. It's not, you said,
Never say you're sorry.
never say sorry. You said, I didn't handle right
I didn't handle that situation right.
that situation. Then when I came home, my mind, it's always that word, came out, came back. And I found out a lot of mistake I made with my husband. And I emailed him last night, and I said, I'm sorry, but that's mean I'm sympathy. I want you to sympathy me, but I really understand that I didn't handle right, and I said, yeah, that I wrote to email yesterday. That's
So there's one lesson. And how many times do we allow the I'm sorry without training them to do it correctly? You have to really be on your toes, because you know what's flying across the room. You have to really be on your toes and pay attention to what's going on.
I know my daughter-in-law.
Dorothea, you need the microphone.
My daughter-in-law always says to the kids, say you're sorry. Like that's the end of the world. You say sorry and then you drop everything. But I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try that when they come to my home.
Mm-hmm.
If they're sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm sorry is I want to get out of it. It's goodbye. I want to get out of here. Leave me alone. I'm sorry. It's a quick fix, but it doesn't fix the problem. If you don't recognize there was a problem created, does that make sense? Okay.
So would it be better to ask forgiveness? Would you forgive me? Than to say,
What
I'm
you're
sorry?
doing is you're saying, I didn't handle that right. And if you see me not handling it right again, will you just remind me? Because I want to learn to handle that correctly. If you just say, will you forgive me? Again, that's getting into a little bit of manipulation.
You don't know what it is.
Right. And then you're not changing the way you handle things. Right. When my husband finally believed he was a good driver and that was my fear, then he put both hands on the steering wheel, and 95% of the time he does it now. Whereas if I just nagged him about it,
Yeah. It's one-sided.
never happened. Never happened.
It's like the difference between accusing someone
Right.
and telling them, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Right.
Because when you accuse somebody, they shut down.
Right.
They're not going to listen. Like I statements instead of you.
So building a case, when they come into your office, they have built a case or they wouldn't be there. And they built a case maybe over years about their father, several years about their mom. Maybe they got one sibling, they built a case. And you know, you have to decide, this is really serious, because if you build a case against somebody, they never can have your approval. That case becomes dominant. So when I look at you, I've always got that case in my mind. Now, you don't want people to use flattery. You don't want them to use manipulation, but you want them to stop building a case. I might say to my husband, and I'm just using this as communication, you know, you're not the best dishwasher, but I tell you, you're the best person to do it.